It's processing. And we're live. Welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour for May 5th, 2017. My name is Josh Nerius. I'm a developer evangelist here in the developer program at ServiceNow. And with me on the other side of the country is...
I'm Dave Slusher, also a developer evangelist. I'm here in South Carolina. I am barely holding it together. How are you, Josh?
Oh, man. Barely holding it together is probably a generous way to describe the way I feel. So it's all good, though. It's all good.
All right. So here we are. Although this is Live Coding Happy Hour, we're not actually coding this week. This is solely our CreatorCon and Knowledge17 preview. So we're going to kind of run over some of what we expect to go through today. Or not today. What we expect to go through this week. We're going to highlight some sessions and some logistics and just some things you need to know. But before we do that, what are you drinking, Josh?
So I have today the Poet Oatmeal Stout. I think I've had it on here before. And by the way, I thought this was very important. It has pairings with mushrooms, beef, soft ripened cheeses, and chocolate. So because that was important.
Quite fancy. I've got this thing, which looks kind of almost temporary. It's a Sweetwater Hatchery series. I think it's not even actually named. I bought this Sweetwater mixed 12-pack, and this is one of the things that's in it. So it's a little bit of a roll of the dice. So
some of the time, the roll of the dice is the good stuff. I think it's, I want to say it's Great Lakes or it's Goose Island. They call it, I think they're experimental series or something like that. And they never have a name. And
yeah,
it's always good.
Okay.
So what are we talking about today?
So let us begin with our I have to go to my agenda because although we talked about it 4 minutes ago, I can't remember it.
We made the agenda literally right before, and I use the word literally in the most, just before we started this thing. But
you literally mean literally.
I literally mean literally.
So to start off, Knowledge17. If you have not registered and made arrangements, you're probably not not going at this point because it is very late in the game. So if you're not going to pre-conference training, you will probably be getting there. I guess most people will be getting there around Monday-ish. The kickoff will be Monday evening. It'll be in the Orange Convention Center near Disney stuff. Or is it Orange or Orlando? Probably Orlando Conference Center.
I think it's Orange. I think it's OCCC, which is Orange County.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So we'll be there. This is the first year in Orlando. So it's good. Definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve from for us at least, because at least when we were in the Mandalay Bay a few years, we kind of had a little rhythm. By the second year, we knew where we were walking to. We knew the best ways to get through the casinos. So we're kind of all starting over again at this. Unless you're somebody who goes to conferences in that convention center, you're starting over. So we're kind of trying to figure that out. This year is different than previous years in that CreatorCon and Knowledge are simultaneous. And that's a very important thing to understand, is that last year, the last day and a half was CreatorCon and the first couple days were Knowledge. Now they're all happening at the same time. And basically, if you're attending a developer-centric workshop or talk anywhere in the week, you're probably in CreatorCon. If you're in pure development. Now, not like developing for an ITSM thing, right? If you're not talking about a product on ServiceNow, you're probably in CreatorCon. Is that a fair statement? I know that I'm not saying it right the first time.
I think that's pretty much what it boils down to. Yeah, I mean, really, in super technical speak, the technical stuff is in CreatorCon. The less technical stuff is in the main knowledge track. So that's a good summary.
Okay. So do we want to talk a little about like logistics of CreatorCon? You had a great blog post a couple days ago about physical logistics. And do you want to talk a little about some of that, about how someone would get prepared for a CreatorCon?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm going to try not to just read off the blog post, but I will talk about some of the points. So number one, we talk about this every single year. A lot is wear really comfortable shoes. And I can tell you this from experience. I think it was Knowledge 13. I had brand new shoes. Day 2, really, 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 really regretting it. And I was in a lot of pain for an entire week afterwards. So that's kind of, these are very, very practical tips, but honestly, it makes all the difference in the world. And I think it was Kevin who mentioned in a comment on that blog post, if you have to buy new shoes, like maybe go and get some inserts or something like that, something padded, something comfortable to make them a little bit less painful. So that's number one. The second thing that we mentioned was hydrate. Remember to drink water. This is really easy to forget as well. You don't want to collapse while you're walking from one session to the next. It seems, again, silly and obvious, but it's really easy to forget. Also give yourself tons of time because, so I've been told, I'm not exactly sure which parts of the OCC are like this, but I've been told that some parts are up to a mile from one end to the other. And I don't remember, Dave. I think it was last year from the hotel, the Luxor, over to the Mandalay Bay area. I don't think it was a mile just to get from the hotel to the conference center. And in this case, the actual conference center in some places is that long. So that's pretty crazy. That's insane. So give yourself plenty of travel time. And on top of that, because we're all sort of spread out across 30 different hotels, you're probably going to want to make sure you spend some time getting familiar with what your bus shuttle schedule is. Make sure, don't just assume the thing is always going to be running, and just, make sure you don't get surprised by that and miss something that you were really, really cared about.
Yeah, and that is a thing to be aware of, is the buses in the middle part of the day, the buses don't run. They run until something like 10:30 or 10:45, and then they start again about 4 p.m. So between late morning and early evening, you either have to Uber yourself back or forth, or walk or something. So if you're one of the farther hotels, you do have to plan ahead for that. It's not as easy to sneak off for like a post-lunch nap as it used to be.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's something that I'm just so accustomed to doing, because if I had some downtime in between sessions and I just needed to get away, or maybe I needed to go and rehearse something, in past years, I would just head back to the room, and I don't think that's going to happen this year. So that's going to be new for all of us. Bring your laptop. So this is really important. I've seen people try to do labs on tablets before, but specifically for CreatorCon, a lot of these things are going to assume that you have a laptop. So I know at least one of my sessions, at least one of my sessions, if not two, I can't even remember what's in my own sessions right now. I use a tool called Postman. I know a bunch of other lab sessions also have you install tools like Postman in order to actually get through the content. And if you're not on a laptop, you're probably going to have a bad time. Doesn't mean you can't get through it, but it may not be as good of an experience for you. So just keep that in mind. Have a GitHub account. So also in a lot of sessions this year, we've got GitHub, linked to source control repositories. I'm doing this in 2 of my sessions. I know a lot of people are doing this. If you can get through CreatorCon without being asked to log into GitHub, come tell me, and I don't know, you win a prize. But it's not going to happen. You're going to have to log into GitHub eventually. What else do I have here? I think I'm getting close to the end. Make your backpack stand out. Everybody gets a new backpack, and that's awesome. And they all look the same, especially when they're sitting around the breakfast table and you have no idea which one is yours. So plan ahead, bring something, make it look different. Put like a big purple carabiner on there or something like that. Let's see, what else do I have here? I'm getting close to the end of my list. Portable power. Bring some kind of charging thing for your phones. Probably not going to work for your laptop, but I found it extremely useful to have something for my phone so that while I'm walking from one point to another, I can actually be charging up. And maybe think about bringing, like, I don't know, Cliff bars or protein bars or something like that. I've got a lot of walking, so make sure you've planned for that. What else do I have here? Honorable mentions. Business cards. If you have them, bring them. If you have meds, allergy meds, I'm going to be like bringing Claritin or whatever it is. That's kind of the thing this time of year. Sunscreen because we're in Florida. Bring a Fitbit because you're going to be walking a lot. USB drive because you never know when you're going to need it. And make sure to bring your badge to the party at Universal Studios. So anyway, that's my spiel. I know I just rattled that off. That wasn't rehearsed. That wasn't planned. I just kind of, anyway.
All right. Yeah, and then so we did mention tablets. Sorry, I'm trying to deal with an emergency while we're talking. So what else do we want to talk about? One of the things I'm going to do right now is share a screen, and I think it might work better if I put it on this monitor, which is a little higher. So hold on one second while I share. You might want to talk over. You might want to cover me while I'm trying to get this going. Share screen.
Little in progress window up here so that things don't go too crazy. We usually don't spend this much time on camera in Live Coding Happy Hour, so This is live CreatorCon happy hour, I guess. Also, we see there we go. Looks good.
Okay. All right. So this is a map of this new area. So this is, let me see if I can kind of show you what's going on. Of main concern to me, mainly because these are the places I'm going to be, are the places where the CreatorCon sessions are happening. And you'll notice that those are mostly down along here. And sorry if you can't see my cursor very well, like down here at the bottom. So you notice there's like a really small portion of the area of this whole thing, but these little pink things down at the bottom left, this is mostly where you're going to see the CreatorCon sessions. So if you look at any of those workshops that we'll be leading, they're going to be basically in these like 9 rooms long here. And these are about 180 person rooms, between 150 and 180, which is a little bit smaller per room than we had at the Mandalay Bay. So I think our total area is bigger, but these breakout rooms are actually a little bit smaller, which does imply if there's a thing you want to do, register for that thing now. Don't wait till the last minute, because some of these sessions absolutely are going to fill up. I know that some have filled up. And so, my automated test, I'm doing a getting started with automated testing framework session. And the first one that they put up there, I think I don't know if it's totally full, but it was over 90% full a week ago. So it may have, 1 or 2, it may be down to, as people cancel, new availability. So you'll note that if you're going to those workshops, you're going to spend a lot of time in this portion of the this portion of the convention center. Now the meals are over here, and so like when Josh was talking about it being a mile from end to end, I don't know what this distance is, but you notice if you go to session in the morning, then you go eat, you're going to go basically the length of this guy. Eat over here, and then you're going to come back over here for your afternoon sessions. So if you're doing CreatorCon sessions before and after lunch, you're going to be hiking twice, right? You're going to be hiking this length twice. So it is definitely something you should be prepared to do, allow enough time to do that, and and be ready to kind of make that hike and make sure that you get to where you need to go in time. And then a lot of the stuff, I think where we're doing our live tech nows over lunchtime, I think has to be in this area here. It's in the theater now, I believe, which is somewhere in this West Hall C. So this is, like I said, down here, there's 100,000 square feet. So somewhere in here is a lot of stuff. The Expo Now is happening in here. The Developer Hub is in here. The theater is in here. The Genius office hour things, the Engage Now, that will be in here. The hackathon's happening in here. So like just this thing right here, this one portion of it has probably another, 60% of what you're going to do as a developer, right? It's just in this area. So it's worth noting kind of the relative geographies, right? Workshops down here in the bottom left, Hall C in the middle, Hall E to the right, where the dining area is. And registration, did we point that out already?
Oh, we did.
Registration, I think there is a registration down here in the bottom right corner. So Hall F, and I honestly am not sure where we would be coming in. You'd probably be coming in from here through the front. So I think that's the closest registration is going to be, to your right and through here. So I've seen pictures of the signage. There is going to be a lot of signage. So it should be relatively difficult for you to not find it. And registration, I'm sure, is going to be one of the most called out things. You're going to walk in.
Worst case scenario, follow the crowd, probably.
Yeah. So first day when you walk in, whether that's Monday or Tuesday morning or whenever you first get there, pretty much bear to the right. I believe that's going to get you to registration. And it should looks like it's going to be pretty close to where the meals are. So that makes perfect sense to go there, register, and get your breakfast if that's what you're doing. And then the keynotes are happening. I'm not exactly sure where the keynotes are happening. Got to be in one of these giant things over here, backstage area. So it's got to be like
probably way over there. Yeah.
Oh, here you are. West Hall B. This is general. This is the keynote sessions Tuesday and Wednesday. Is in this big Hall B. So I'm going to assume it's basically what could be broken out as B1 through 4. I think it's going to probably be one giant room, with the stage over here. That's what I'm guessing. Because they're saying that this is backstage, so this is probably the stage over here. So for the keynotes, you're going to be kind of schlepping, right? If you have breakfast and then go to a keynote, you're going to be over here. You're going to go over here for the keynote. Then luckily after the keynotes, if you're doing CreatorCon sessions afterwards, which most of our developer constituency will probably be doing that, going to a keynote and then going to a session, they're right there. So that's actually one of the shorter walks you're going to have during your week here. Is there anything else we want to call out on this map? I think I'm pretty much done with the map.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. So that, really the big takeaway, bring that Fitbit. I know I don't want to walk that much and not have credit for it. So
one of the ones, and I'll have to look this up at some point when you're talking, is I'll look up the indoor mapping session, which I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what it's called. But one of the ones that we did see was about, where you can import the CAD drawings and do indoor mapping. And you can use that along with asset management and various aspects of ServiceNow. That would actually be extremely cool for the conference itself, right? If you were
that's a good point.
If you were able to say, all right, if that was like a part of the Knowledge18 app where you say, okay, I'm doing this and then this, what's the different distance between those 2 points, between my 2 adjacent things in the
calculate your lead time for travel between sessions and everything else.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like Waze, right? The way Waze tells you, leave now to make your whatever. With current traffic, you need to leave now to be there at 5:30. It's like
that would be pretty cool. I don't know if there's any possibility for us to build something like that, but it would be a lot of fun.
All right.
That is one of the things I actually worry about a little bit, because you end up running into so many people in the hallways, and you get into these conversations, and that's one of the most awesome things about Knowledge. But then if you're not leaving enough time to actually get to your next thing, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to show up sweating or something like that. Yeah,
it's absolutely, it definitely is a two-edged sword. I mean, that is my favorite thing about Knowledge, right? And sometimes, we run into this, right? Where I have kind of an atypical personality type for developers, right? I'm a little more outgoing and a little more extroverted than your typical developer, which I know we are as a career kind of shy. And this is absolutely one of those places where I urge people to kind of get a little out of their comfort zone. Because I know if you're an introvert, like 95% of all developers, it's like going, I know you. It's difficult to go up and talk. I mean, that wears people out. As an entire week of kind of talking to strangers and all that, it definitely takes something out of you. One of the things that I do, and I will do this all week, I've done this every meal at every Knowledge I've ever been to. I do not go to a table for a meal if I recognize anyone there. If I know one person at the table, I find a table I don't know anyone at, because I want to meet like 7 new people every time I sit down to a table. And I try to make a point of introducing myself to everyone at the table and at least getting their name, where they're from, and kind of what they're doing and what their goals of Knowledge are. And sometimes there's it doesn't mean that does not mean I know anything about what they want, right? They may say, I'm here because we're really customizing HR heavily and we want to whatever. And it's like, Godspeed. I don't know a thing about that. But, I hope, or, sometimes you can point them to somebody, or you can say, hey, I know over in the expo floor, there's a whole section devoted to that. So, I try to do that, but I urge everybody. You called this out. I think I was distracted, but I think you probably were mentioning this, is business cards. Have lots of them. Be ready. If you hear somebody talking about something that interests you, give them your business card. And do not be shy to write notes on your business card before you hand them to people. Saying whatever, if you're talking about a thing, just write a quick note on the face of your business card so they remember why they were talking to you. And vice versa. If you get someone else's business card, just annotate it if there's a thing you were talking about and you want to remember that this is the person that does that. This is the CMDB guy, CMDB mapping guy.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely critical. I mean, because it can be so easy to think that, oh, I'm just going to run into them again at another meal. I'll find them or whatever the case is. And chances are, with as many people as we're probably going to have, I mean, I know it grows every year. The chances of actually finding that person again later, unless you exchange contact info, is probably pretty low.
Yeah. Do not count on running into someone, because it is extremely possible to see somebody once and only once. This happens over and over, right?
And then there are those people that you'll see about 12 times throughout the week, and you're not sure why. It just happens that way. And then
I think this is I think you could probably, if you had the math, you could do the Laplace distribution and figure out exactly like what's the high end, what's the low end, and what's the odds that you're gonna, But anyway,
if I had brain power right now, I'd say we should just fire up Script's background and see if we could actually code that. But I don't have that brain power.
I'm not gonna do that. So definitely, it's worth getting out of your shell. It's worth talking to people. It's worth being prepared to both give and receive lots of information. It's worth having your own personal agenda, right? What are the things you want to come out of here with? If you're hiring for a thing, have that in mind. Have in mind the elevator pitch to talk to somebody what you want out of if you want a staff, be able to talk to that succinctly. If you want a new job, be able to talk to that succinctly, right? Do not be afraid to sell yourself. Do not be afraid to sell your company or open position you have, or whatever you want. So just think about the things you want to achieve and kind of have those prepared, ready to go, right? Because on the fly, you will be tired. It will be chaotic. There will be people around you at all times. It'll be noisy. So if you have kind of rehearsed in your head, you've kind of summarized it down to a concise, 2-3 line, 30-second elevator pitch, you'll be in a much better place than trying to tap dance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's good. Good advice. And as an introvert, something I need to sometimes take to heart as well. So let's talk about sessions. We both are running numerous sessions, and also we've kind of had our eye on some sessions that we're really interested in. So Dave, what are you running this year?
I'm running two main ones, which is I'm running 2 runnings of a session called Getting Started with the Istanbul Automated Testing Framework. And I'm going to have to look at this. I'm running it Tuesday afternoon. So that's 3:50 to 5:50. And then I'm doing it again Thursday morning, 11:30 to 1:30. Is that right? 11:30 to 1:30. They must not be providing lunch on Thursday. Because I think either that or we're working through it. So,
or maybe there's some time zone math involved. I'm not sure, but
I'm pretty sure that is the Eastern time.
Interesting.
So that will be that is a popular one. I was kind of racing with one of the service portal sessions for it being the most quickly filled up in the original go around before they had started adding second sessions. And I was racing. I was like, which one of us is going to fill up first? It's really close. The service portal actually beat me, and it had a bigger room, so it was pretty clearly dominating me. But
this topic in general is just crazy popular. I mean, you had a huge session last year, and we didn't even have a product for it.
I had basically nothing, and we had a huge room to talk about what minuscule stuff we could actually talk about. And so now that we have an actual offering with a solid lab, hopefully people will like this. I am looking extremely forward to running a session. So then I'm doing another one, which will be the very first slot of the day. It's actually competing with one of yours. I'm doing building your first ServiceNow application. So it's mostly intended for, say, an admin type or somebody who is familiar with the system, as a user, as an admin, but has never actually coded up functionality for an application. That's kind of who that's intended. So a nice 2-hour session. We're going to use kind of one of the things I'm kicking around, this idea that this might be our new demo app. So this is kind of the coming out party for that thing, the media library thing.
Cool.
About. We've got the marketing events application that has been kind of our go-to. This is maybe a slightly different thing that we have discussed, and this will be the first time anyone sees the media library. So those are mine. Let's talk over yours. Let's starting with the one that competes head to head with that one, your webhook session.
Yeah, so working with webhooks is what it's called. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what webhooks are, and then we're going to actually do a webhook integration with GitHub. So this is sort of a pattern of integration that's been sort of emerging over the last couple of years. And so we're going to get really hands-on and actually build a GitHub webhooks integration. So that's my first one. My next one is a little bit interesting. It's going to be I'm really excited about it. I'm also really curious to see how it goes. We spend about 95% of our time not working in ServiceNow. It's called Inbound OAuth, auth code grant flow in a Node.js application. Surprise, surprise, I'm doing something related to OAuth. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a Node.js application and build OAuth support into it. So we're going to do that start to finish. And hopefully by the end, if you didn't know what OAuth was or how it worked, you'll have a better idea. And then my final session, I have a breakout. So this is just me standing up there and talking for a while, no lab, about getting existing JavaScript libraries working in your application. So this is really sort of practical guide for how do you take code that's out there that you want to use in ServiceNow and how do you get it into ServiceNow, because that's not always a straightforward process. And there's a lot of stuff out there. You know, I think we did it in Live Coding Happy Hour, stuff like Moment.js, but I get into other more advanced topics around that particular subject. So those are my 3 main sessions.
And do we want to talk about some of the ones that, unfortunately, I don't have the list in front of me. I don't have to try to pull that up right quickly.
So I had a couple. I can go through mine on there. I had highlighted a few that I ran across. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to go to these, but they looked really cool. And we're not highlighting these because they're better than any others. They were just ones that really jumped out as pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff we just don't have time to talk about. So there's this one, CCB 4211, speeding your delivery time with web development tools. This is someone from Ikorio, and they're talking about basically the tools and developer tools that they use for doing mockups and for just doing development in the platform. So it sounded pretty interesting. Developer tools is kind of a topic that I'm always interested in because I am always trying to find a better way to do stuff. So that was cool. And then Advanced Service Portal. This is CCW 3956, composing reusable widgets. I don't know a ton about Service Portal, so this is all about sort of the best practices behind creating widgets that properly leverage option schemas and things like that so that you can actually reuse these things in your environment, not make single purpose widgets, but make widgets that can be used over and over. So that looks pretty interesting to me. And then the third one I listed was your automated testing. So, but you've already talked about it.
All right. Yeah, and some of the ones that I called out, and so I'm sorry, I was dealing with my emergency on another screen, so I actually didn't even hear what sessions he said. So if I say the same thing, it's because my attention was split. The Service Portal and Spotify, basically using Service Portal as a front end for pulling in an API not on your system. That's pretty cool. The debugging outbound REST API integrations is one of the ones that I looked at. It's actually our boss is one of the presenters of that. I am not sucking up to him, but I would actually go to that if I could. Application inheritance. So basically using the pattern of extending existing applications, basically using ServiceNow in an object-oriented fashion, which you absolutely can do by extending tables. And so we haven't really had a best practice around that. And so that's a session that looks really interesting to me. And then I have a couple in my blog post. I have a couple listed for Service Portal, but frankly, there's like at least a dozen. There's probably over a dozen Service Portal sessions. So just search on the word Service Portal and find. So last year, I want to say, Service Portal was just barely out last year, I believe. And so nobody really had touched it much. And maybe it was even in early access. I don't even remember where we were at that point, but it was very, very little real world stuff had happened with Service Portal in Knowledge17. And now people are out there using it and they're building stuff and they're interested in it. And so it is really the belle of the ball for this particular, like all the most highly subscribed sessions, are all Service Portal ones. And so people are super interested, which also implies, as I said before, if you want to get to one of these Service Portal sessions, sign up now, right? Because probably over the next couple days, people are going to be firming up their schedules. So things are going to fill up and there's just going to be no more room in them. So the sooner the better. Have we talked about the mobile app yet? I can't even remember.
We have not talked about mobile app.
All right, let's talk about that. Whether you have iOS or Android, there are mobile apps for both, and always worth installing that thing and getting it ready. It always changes a little bit from year to year, but it is tied to your account, the same account you used to register. So it's going to this happened for me. I just signed it up. I signed in with the same account that I use on the Knowledge site, and it knew all my sessions. I presume it's going to give me some notifications, when sessions are happening, and it's got some social aspects to it that I haven't even started playing with. I think I installed it yesterday or the day before. So do that now. Probably you want to have it on there, I think, before you leave the house. That was probably your best bet, rather than trying to install it, on the floor of the conference center. So you're going to have a better experience, I think, if you get that ready over this weekend before you leave. So spend a little time with that. And so, like I said, just search on, there's a mobile app section in the header of the Knowledge site.
And I think I got my first push notification from that today talking about the hackathon. So, because that hackathon is kicking off Tuesday, I believe.
It is, yes.
Tuesday,
that is actually a thing to, oh, sorry, I did. Actually, I forgot to mute this. I am hearing us because I opened this up to see if we had the chat. So I was just looking to see if we had any questions in the chat. So hackathon, the downer of the hackathon is that it's during session day. So it starts at whatever it's like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., something like that.
Yep.
And so you're not going to be able to go to Tuesday. You have to choose either hackathon or Tuesday sessions. And so luckily, a lot of the sessions are repeating. So it's not the worst thing in the world. If you want to do the hackathon, absolutely, there's reasons to do it. And I believe you have to register ahead of time. So if you want to do that, get your registration in soon. So
yeah, absolutely. And on that note, if you did have a session that there is only one, you desperately wanted to go to it, or if there's stuff that, is very important that you want to go to the session, but you don't want to have to choose to not go to the hackathon, just work with your team. They are working with people to say that, if you've got a session, you've got to step away. Just make sure your hacking team knows, and you coordinate with them at the beginning. Let them know you're going to have to duck out for a little bit. So that's always an option.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like a good sized team for any kind of hackathon, it's like usually 4 to 6, right? So particularly you may want you don't want a too big a team, because it's just at that point the communication pathways are increasing factorially, right? So which is why smaller teams work better. But in this case, particularly, if people are gonna want to peel off for a little bit of time, like a 6-person team might actually work pretty good in this context, with the idea that usually 3 or 4 of you are actually there in the room.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I'm excited to see what people build. It's always amazing to me how much stuff people can get through in 8 hours. And it's like live coding happy hour on steroids. They're creating stuff that's much cooler than anything we ever do here in 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, the quote that we got from the London hackathon when the people were presenting what they did is, the one that I always remember is frankly, I'm surprised it's as functional as it is.
It speaks to the power of the platform.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Let's see what else we got going on. So I'm running unconferences here. And so if you're not familiar with that, or if you're curious about it, you should definitely come check it out. Basically, the idea behind the unconference is, the term is very literal. It's the anti-conference. It's not organized. It's not, you don't have to go through a call for speakers or get your talk approved or anything like that. You literally come in and write your stuff down, and you put your session on a board, and then you show up and you talk about it. And that's about as formal as it gets. So that's going to be in the Developer Hub. I'm going to run a couple of sessions there, most likely, probably some stuff about developer meetups and things like that. But we'd love for people to get involved. So if you're interested, definitely check that out.
And I have put very little forethought into this, but I'm probably going to do a session on live coding. Like not live coding, but like the act of live coding.
That'd be pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about live coding TV, or what is it now, live edu.tv versus Twitch versus some of what we went through with this very thing right here is we had to make some decisions, and we can kind of talk that through. And for me, I personally, I have the agenda was I would want people doing ServiceNow live coding, right? There's a lot of different languages and platforms and middlewares and tools that people use and do live coding, and I want this to be one of those. So
yeah, that's a really good point. That would be a cool session.
Yeah, so I'm getting somewhere in there when I have a slot. It'll probably be on Wednesday because I'm more free Wednesday than any other day. Cool. I will go to the Unconference Center and sign that up, and come join me for that. It'll be great.
Cool. I'll join you and learn a little bit about live coding because I need some more info about that one, Dave. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about the sort of the whole setup. So the thing that we do to actually broadcast this to you today is very Rube Goldbergian. We have virtual machines connected to Skype, connected to streamers, connected to this, connected to that, and it's really kind of shocking that it all works as well as it does. So maybe I'll chat about that. So you want to run your own thing? Here are some of the things that we had to do.
Now, and I'm kind of I'm basically running out of gas. I'm not sure what else there is for us to talk about. What else? Is there anything left unsaid from your end, Josh? Or anybody in the chat have anything that they want to bring up?
Nothing from me. I'm just checking the chat here and open the chat. Orange County Convention Center. Yeah, what Josh said. CreatorCon, says Martin Barclay. So I think we're good. I think we are good.
Alrighty. So with that, and by the way, and for people who are not physically going to be there, I believe that there's more of a commitment this year to having sessions available for distant people. I think a chunk of the sessions, so keynotes have always been streamed. I think, are some of the talks getting streamed this year or recorded for later playback? I think there's more of that.
Yeah, the breakouts are getting recorded. I don't know what the parameters are around getting to that later, so we'll have to find out more information about that and where that's going to be. But yeah, definitely stay tuned. I know that there's a lot of focus on that and making sure that the stuff that happens gets reused and the information gets out there.
Yeah, and definitely if you have some sort of social media thing where you watch tags, the #CreatorCon tag is the one to watch for tweets. Certainly, most things I tweet during the conference will have that in there. So that is a good one to follow to kind of, if you want to experience what's happening on the floor, semi-real time. That would be a good one. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's prizes and things involved with that too. But I'm sure you'll learn more about that once we're all in Orlando.
All right. With that, going once, going twice on anything else before I pass out. I'm so tired. And
there's a solid 4. I'm with you there. I'm going to probably try to get to sleep early tonight. I'm going to probably try to sleep half the day tomorrow. And then I get up and I fly to Orlando on Sunday. It all begins.
Yeah. See, this is when you start tired, you are in a deep, deep hole. You've already crossed the event horizon. So it's best if you can, you can get a good Saturday night sleep. That is the thing to do, because it is going to be, it's always a heavy week, and it's absolutely worth it. But man, is it a toll on you. So it's a toll in the best way, but it is a toll. So like we said, hydrate, rest up, and be ready to spend a good solid 72 to 120 hours in the CreatorCon and Knowledge17 experience. With that,
can't wait.
Oh, I didn't say my rating. I'm going to give this one a 4. Yeah, I'll give this a solid 4 as well. For my Sweetwater Hatchery release #1. So probably it was a tactical mistake drinking it. I probably should have stuck with the coffee, which is right over here. But
the coffee comes later.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Josh, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of our friends, and come talk to us. If you specifically, if you watch Live Coding Happy Hour, come tell us that, because there is nothing we like more than being out in the real world and being told that the thing we spend time on actually is meaningful to people. So I had people at the London Hackathon tell me that. I had people where else? Oh, in India. I had people in India telling me that they watch this. So I love it so much. So come up and talk to us. We love it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you there. And then after CreatorCon, we're going to try to get back to a more normal. We know that the schedule here has been the schedule. Let me tell you guys, peek behind the curtain. The schedule for everything has been upended. We're so behind on everything. Anything that is not CreatorCon is a chocolate mess right now. So this is factored in. Everyone in the ServiceNow world knows that from March to May is a mess. So with that said, goodbye. We'll see you in person next week and hopefully every week for most of the summer. So there you go.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Dave. Bye.
Bye.